Okay, this is attempt number, I don't know what, but I think it's going to work this time, because it turns out it was working last time, but I was just checking for the link too early. So is this actually going right now? Apparently it's going right now. So let me see how I can follow along with the stream and the comments and all that stuff. Okay, we got some extra audio going here. Okay, I think it's working. No one's in the chat yet, but some people were before, so hopefully I didn't end things too preemptively and screw things up. Hey, okay, so it is working, so that's good. All right, do my keyboard shortcuts work? No. So I have to have the streaming software focused for the keyboard shortcuts to work. That's not great. Okay, bear with me. We are learning here. It's been a long time since I have streamed anything, and I'm not confident I remember how to stream. I'm not confident I remember how to even program. So this should be fun though. Okay, so why don't we just hack on this and see where we get. Cool. So here is a design that, come on, Steve has been cooking up for Tailwind UI. So we've just been hacking away on this new like marketing site template concept that we thought would be kind of pretty fun. It's still kind of early in some ways. We've just got this one page kind of mostly ready, but Steve's still working on breakpoints and stuff like that. But I thought I would just try and just get started on it and get a little bit ahead. So I can give him feedback. We can work on it together, whatever. So what I've done so far is, let's check the Discord, make sure no one's saying, oh, Adam, you accidentally just showed all your credit card information on the screen. Nope. So far I'm good. So all I've done is create like kind of a empty Next.js project with Tailwind set up, and really like nothing to it. Just kind of deleted everything I didn't need, and we've just got this page that just says hello, and that is just kind of what we have here. So let me know in the chat, I guess, if the font sizes are too small or anything like that. I've bumped the resolution down a bit, but I'm trying to keep it small enough that we can fit enough stuff on the screen, but not so big that, or not so small that people can't read it, rather. Okay, so I'm probably going to have kids knocking on my office door, probably going to hear babies crying. You'll get a real insight into the life of Adam Wathen here today. So let's just pull up this design here. Usually the first thing like I do with any of these things is just try and get some of the shape into the document. So main on a marketing site is probably going to include the hero and all that stuff. Editor font is too small. Okay, so let's just bump the whole thing up to like here. And anyone following the GameStop stuff today? Kind of hilarious. So yeah, I think like let's not overthink much of the details here. Let's just try and get something on the page. So I'm just going to make like maybe like a header here or something. I don't even know if header is a valid HTML element within main, honestly. But, you know, I don't see why not. Maybe we'll just go with a div, whatever. And in the div, we're going to have sort of this like, well, let's think here. So the div is really going to be like this area, probably including this padding on the outside of the thing. And then we're going to have this sort of shape inside of it, and then we're going to have this like nav area. Now there's some borders on this nav that bleed outside past the edges, so that's going to be sort of an interesting challenge. Same with positioning these like plus symbols. But yeah, we'll figure it out. So let's just throw some stuff in there. So we're going to have a nav. There's going to have like two sections, like a left section and a right section. In here, I'm just going to throw like something to represent the logo, and then we're going to have that little banner. And then over here, we're going to have, this is a next app, but I'm not going to use the next link stuff right now because, again, we're just worried about the markup and the design. So I'm just going to use these just empty anchor tags, just vanilla HTML anchor tags. And then under the nav, we're going to have like a content section here that's got this H1 of higher, smarter. And then there's like a paragraph underneath that's like barely HR helps small and large companies find the right person for the right job. And then we've got some actions under there. These look like they're both going to be links as well. They look like buttons, of course, but they're going to be links. So get started. We got a capital S, but a lowercase m. I think I'm going to make the executive decision here and only capitalize the first word in both of these. All right, I'm going to crack open a Coke Zero here for my friend Aaron Francis, who's not allowed to drink them, but desperately wishes that he could. All right, you know what'd be fun to do sometime is figure out a way to do like pair programming streams. So I have somebody to talk to instead of just myself and someone to help me when I get stuck. But I'm not sure technologically how to get that all set up. So what do we got now? Yeah, so we got some crap here. It's not good, but it is something. So why don't we maybe start with getting something in place for this giant background panel thing. And instead of putting like padding on main, because there's probably things that break out of that throughout the page. Yeah, like down here, you can see this goes edge to edge. I think we're going to want to make this section have some padding. So let's just wrap this div and like another div. And we'll give this a class name with some padding. So let's see, like what's the distance from the edge here? It's 8 on the top, left and right. I'm going to put nothing on the bottom because I don't like when there's just like, so it's tempting to sort of just make like the padding on all sides equal here because it's so close to being equal. But if we put like an 8 pixel padding on the bottom of this, you wouldn't even be able to see it because it doesn't butt up against everything. It'd be this weird like phantom padding that you have to use math to compensate for all the time. So let's just do like px2 pt2 and let's just give this div like a background color of pink or something so we can sort of see it. bg, let's use fuchsia 200, and it's got a mental border radius 32 pixels. Is that like a Tailwind thing? Do we even have that? No, it's going to be like 4XL. So we're just going to use an arbitrary value for that one. And let's just see. Okay, so we have something here. Chris, you've actually done like live streams using tuple as like the pair programming audio source. I do think Coke Zero and Diet Coke are important for peak productivity. I was happy to see John Carmack drinks like 9 Coke Zeros a day. And he used to be a big Diet Coke guy, but switched to Coke Zero when it came out. So really Coke Zero is just like the better version of Diet Coke. Sometimes I do have to drink Diet Coke when we run out of Coke Zero. But the Costco order with the fresh cases of Coke Zero arrived yesterday. So we are stocked and locked and ready to code. Okay, so we got some stuff here. Let's maybe get like the sizing of everything right. So everything's sort of big like this. And once everything is sort of generally in the right place, then maybe we can try and play with this gradient because I'm kind of interested to see how we're going to mimic that exactly. So let's think about, yeah, this is an interesting one because of the all these lines here. I'm trying to think like what would I consider the nav bar to actually be? Is this top line and bottom line like part of the actual nav bar, or are those sort of absolute positioned things outside of it? Especially since they kind of bleed outside, I'm inclined to think that maybe they should be treated as sort of like a decorative layer. Why don't we think about it as like just up to this first line for now? So it's like a vertical padding of 12. And then we can think about this as being like 64. And what's the padding on the bottom? 192. Okay, so PY, then whatever 64 is. Something I really want to change for, that should be PT, sorry. Something I really want to change for Tailwind 4 that I just don't know if I have the balls to change is making this mean 16 pixels instead of 64 pixels, because this is, I originally felt like it'd be nice to work with Tailwind in this sort of design in the browser way where I can just try one, then try two if one was too small, and then try three. But what I find in reality is that I'm just building things that have been designed in Figma all the time. And when I measure things in Figma, they're in pixels. And now I have to do arithmetic instead of just typing the damn number. But yeah, here we are. So we got some padding there for the whole thing. Now this, yeah, that might not be how we want to build this, but we'll see. 160. So this isn't centered in this section. Yeah, okay. We're just going to build this with like margin here and padding here, and I think that'll be fine. Okay, so this nav, this is going to be a flex container. We said, what did it have for padding? Like 12? Is that, yeah, 12. So that's 3. So we'll do PY3. We're going to have horizontal padding on all this stuff too. Maybe the horizontal padding can be on this whole thing. 104, eh, Steven? That's an unusual one. What's this here? 87. So we're going to be doing a little bit of, let's just do whatever like 96 is, because that's kind of in between those two things. All right, so we've got like a box, everything's kind of in place. Someone's asking if there'll be a full video on the channel. Yeah, I'll leave the live stream up. You can go and torture yourself by watching me slog through it in real time anytime you like. So yeah, we got this logo section. So we'll use like justify between to sort of get those things spread out to the side. So with the logo and the banner, and then we've got these links over here. I'm going to make this background like yellow 100. So it feels like a little bit closer to, man, that yellow is very, it's kind of green looking compared to what Steve's got there. Oh yeah, there we go. Amber. Okay. So, why don't we get the logo? I think it'll feel nice to have like the actual logo in here. So I'm going to try and think about how we can do this. I think if I take this frame and just sort of pull it out here, I think I can like outline stroke. Does that outline the text? Yes. Okay. So now we've got the whole thing as just like pure SVG. The height of it is what? It's like 34 pixels tall. That's an awkward one because that's not like a Tailwind value, but 36 is, but this is all 34. If we make it 36 pixels tall, we've made it 2 pixels taller, which is then going to be 11 pixels of padding on each side. So that's kind of a crappy deal too. Why don't we just make it 36 and there'll be an extra pixel and that'll be no big deal. So this is how I usually do this stuff. We'll add a background to this frame so we can see it a bit better. And we're going to make the frame 36 pixels tall. And then Did that center already when we did that? Yeah, it did. Okay. So now at least like when we use this SVG, we can use it with like a H9, which is like a real Tailwind value. And we don't have to like force it down to 34 pixels or whatever. So I'm going to copy this as SVG. And then my trick for this usually is I use this transform.tools site and I'll convert it to JSX. This doesn't really need to be JSX because we're not using it as like a React component or anything really. But I think for our purposes, it's going to be a little bit faster than trying to stick it in a public folder as an image and whatever. So we'll just call this logo. Oh my God. I'm using TypeScript and now I'm going to pay the price. So why don't we just accept class name, and we'll just make class name a string. And yeah, we'll just stick that on here. Okay, so we've got a logo. Let's stick this at the bottom of the file, actually. So I imagine that the logo would be a link to the homepage, probably, right? That's how we normally do things. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I just meant to use the logo component. And we said H9. All right, so we got our logo and we fucked up and exported it with a background color. I feel like that didn't center properly. So here, the center of the circle kind of cuts through sort of the top part of the middle of the line in the B. Yeah, this just needs to be brought down. Can I not move that with the arrow keys? This got auto layout on it. All right, let's move it down by, we'll just do 10 and then 11.5 maybe. I think that's basically right. I'll get Steve to export me better assets at some point. So let's remove the fill. Copy that as SVG again, back to transform.tools, slap that guy in there, and we'll just update the path. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So this path can go, and this path will replace with the other one. And yeah, let's see, does that look more lined up? Yeah, it does. Cool. All right, so next is that little banner thing. So let's get rid of these rulers. So I guess we'll just start with the text. Let's make it a div. It doesn't need to be a div, but it's wide, you know? When things are wide, I kind of want them to be divs. All right, so this has a 32 pixel, well, it's rounded full. So rounded full, and the background color is this 4E. Now, is this a Tailwind colors? We built this cool little raycast extension where I can paste in a hex code and get like a Tailwind color out of it if it matches a Tailwind color. In this case, it doesn't. I wonder if that color exists anywhere else in here. Like if Steve's using it as like a brand color. Is he using Tailwind colors for things like this? Yeah, okay. So this is probably just hand-picked because he wanted it to blend in this funky way. Is it using like a blend mode? No, just normal. So let's look at that color for a second. We might be able to like approximate this. If we just like pump up the opacity on that, it's like a dark plummy color. Let's look at the, you know what? Let's use the raycast extension. Purple. Does it kind of look not quite violet? No, violet's more. Is it dark fuchsia? Yeah, I would say fuchsia 950 is actually pretty close. Okay, so let's use fuchsia 950, and of course it's at 34%. But whatever. Fuchsia 950 at 35. That'll have to do. And okay. It definitely looks boring compared to here when it's over the gradient and stuff. The gradient kind of makes it seem like it's more complicated than it is. All right, so it's small text. So 14 is text small in Tailwind. 24 is line height of 6, so it'll be 14/6, font medium. We're using Helvetica for this site, so why don't we just add that to our Tailwind config. Oh, this is from Next. So font family, sans Helvetica new, whatever, system UI, sans serif. That'll do. Helvetica, baby. All right, did that update? Yeah, cool. All right, so we said this is text small over 6, and what was the font weight? Medium? Medium white. All right, and we got some padding on the sides there, 12 and 2, so that's 3 and a half. Okay, so that's something. Now we need to make this container also a flex container. And probably item center. And what's the distance here? 24, so that's going to be a gap of 6. Okay. And then we'll do these links. So the links are 16, the line height of auto, so we'll just use the default line height, medium, gray 950. Text base, it's the default, but whatever, let's specify it to be explicit. Text gray 950. Font Matum. I'm using Tailwind 3 right now because we're going to release this template hopefully in a month when everything's done, and Tailwind 4 won't be out yet. And there are some small differences between 3 and 4. So yeah, I'm going to stick with 3 for now. Okay, so let's think about this. We don't have hover states or anything like that, so let's just keep it simple. And it's 33. I don't know like where this like width comes from. I guess it's just because of the way auto layout's doing everything. So we'll just do a gap of 8 on these. Flex gap 8. And that should be, oh, this is not centered. Shouldn't that be centered? Oh no, we didn't center these ones. Now the other question is, did Steve center this or did he baseline align it? So let's compare the bottom of this. I mean, we can probably check his auto layout stuff too. Yeah, it's centered. Okay, so that's gonna work then. And yeah, so that's like something, you know. And now let's get the headline in there. Font size 128. I do not know if we have that in Tailwind. Text. Oh, we do. Look at that. Font medium. Text gray 950. Whew, baby. That is beefy looking. I guess that's just because we're working at a different scale here. I wonder if we should do something fun with this using like fluid typography or something so that it's never quite this huge. Why is the tracking different here? That looks pretty rough. I wonder what's causing that to behave that way. It's like this, it looks like it has like a ligature too, because you can see like the dot is actually inside of the R. But it's not here. I mean, it's the same font. Is it? Yeah. That's something to think about at some point. Okay. And yeah, let's just get some of this stuff in, and then we'll work on like something more fun, more interesting. So this is just 24, so that's like text XL, I think, over 8. Oh, no. Text XL over 8, font medium. See, this is when we figure out which color this is using that color extension. So that's gray 950 at 75%. I don't know if this is something that other people would find useful. Let me know if you would. We have a couple extensions. Like we have another extension that's just called Tailwind CSS. We mostly use this for like troubleshooting and bug fixing. So if someone reports that, like, for example, there was a bug in Tailwind 3 that might be present in Tailwind 4 too, where you could do like call start and then do like a negative value, and that would work, but you couldn't do like negative call start one. I think this is also in V4. So this is like a tool that we use when someone reports an issue but a class not working. We can quickly type the class in here and see what the generated output is. It's useful too for when people are like combining funky stuff. There was like a report the other day, I think, that was like, if you use a data attribute that starts with a number, like foo equals like, 11 bananas, and then underline or something. Whoa, come on. That this needs quotes to like work in the browser, so we can come in here and check, does that make sense? Like the actual CSS gets generated with quotes, but I don't know if that's happening because we're running it through some optimization thing or what, and we can check and compare the difference between the V3 and V4 output and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of fun. So anyways, we said this was 950 at 75%. Okay. You know what I might do? That's at 50%. Let's like open the dev tools and like stick the inspector thing at the bottom here and scale this down to 50% too. And what's this? This is set to 1440. So if we set this to 1440 and 50%, now like in theory, we're looking at both of these UIs at the same scale. So yeah, kind of nice. All right, so buttons. So these buttons are kind of interesting, actually. This one especially. Yeah, this is making me wish we were using Tailwind 4. Some of this stuff will be easier. All right, so let's take a look here. So this button, it's 16 with a line height of 1, interestingly. I don't know if that's a good idea because sometimes descenders can get chopped off if you do that. But we'll see. 12, so PY3, PX4. PY3, PX4, rounded, full, BG, I'm betting that's gray 950. Text, white, text, base, over 1. over 4. Font medium, I'm guessing. Was that the right background color? Gray 950. Yeah. And oh, what? Okay, that needs to be like a flex container. And what's the gap on these? 24? Wait, did I highlight the right thing there? Yep, 24. So another gap of 6. Okay, so now, I don't know if you noticed this, but before I added flex here, this is like overlapping the text. That's because anchor tags are inline elements by default, which means when you add padding to them and stuff like that, it doesn't really affect the layout of the document. But by making this a flex container, then these become flex children, which behave more like block elements. So text base 4 sets the font size to 16 and the line height to 16. That's what the 4 part does. So these numbers match like the spacing scale numbers. And I think I might be crazy here, but I feel like I see a shadow on that. Now, is that a Tailwind shadow? It's got an offset of 4. I guess we'll try MD. It seems like kind of close. Probably won't be able to see it that clearly, but there's something there. Okay, so let's just get it kind of roughed in, and then we'll zoom into both. Okay, so this one's more interesting. So one thing that's kind of interesting is you'll notice that, see how this pink line here, this pink border actually sits outside of the button. So this button is actually like technically a little bit taller than this one if you include that line, but I think it looks right to my eye to be done that way. So we'll do it the same way that Steve did it there. So this button is white at 15-ish%. White over 15. I mean, whatever. Let's just copy everything here for now. We could like make a cool button component if we wanted to that had some props and stuff. Text is probably gray 950, I'm guessing. Yep, this will get saved to the channel. Let's see, gray 950. Yeah. So the other thing is this has like an, so it's got, so this outer thing is this shadow, that like pink line, and then it's got like the same drop shadow ish that this one had, but not quite actually, but that's fine. And then it's got an inner shadow that we're gonna have to do as like a custom shadow, I think. Oh yeah, this is way easier in Tailwind 4. Because that's got a blur on it. Well, there's 2 ways that we could do this. So, all right. Let's start by adding, I'm going to build, so, okay. In Tailwind 4, we've added, there's 4 slots for shadows now. So there's like a shadow, which is like an outer shadow, right? There's inset shadow, which is the same thing, but inset. There's ring, which is like the non-blurred outline shadows that we always had. And there's also inset ring. And you can combine all 4 of these together to create different effects. So in this case, I think like what we actually want here is an outer shadow, an inset shadow, and a ring. We could do the ring with an outline. We could also use like pseudo elements to do some of this stuff. Yeah, I do not use Figma developer mode, man. Use Figma design mode. Aspire to be a designer. The other way to do this is just like a gnarly, arbitrary shadow. But yeah, since we want to be able to compose the shadows together, it would be really nice if we had the V4 stuff. Do we just release this with V4? Would that be the worst thing? Would that be a crime? Or would we be doing people a favor? You know? npm install Tailwind CSS at next. Then let's go to our Tailwind config file and override our font family somewhere else. What did I call this file? Tailwind.css. My camera is like covering up this half of my screen, so it's hard to see when I have to type over here. Font family sans sand. And then delete this file. We could be making a horrible mistake here. I'm like under all this pressure for the live stream. I'm probably forgetting some like crucial setup step here. Oh, I already fucking know that I am. npm install Tailwind CSS post CSS at next. Whoops. And then we'll go to our post CSS config and we'll change this to be the new plugin. Why is that complaining? All right, just one of those things. Just reload the window. Okay, let's start the server and cross our fingers. Where's the terminal? $3,000, is that the port? Yeah, I guess I closed something. Oh, baby, that's wrong. Let's see. Hey. Okay. So we're back. We got V4 going. Okay. I don't know why there's a inset ring. Yeah, we added some classes here, I guess. Let's bump this up to like a. Yeah, let's do the old pinch to zoom here. Okay, so back to this. So we got the white background. We've got this like custom inset shadow. So it's got a. So okay, so let's just add our arbitrary inset shadow to this for now. Inset shadow, and then this is going to be 0, 0, 2 pixels. 1 pixel. And the other thing that's messed up about Figma is it's always hard to know if the blur values match. A lot of the time these are like double what the equivalent CSS one is. Yeah, and then I think I'm going to try what I'm trying to do right now is really I just want to test something. So whatever. Okay, so that did work. I'm curious if I can override the color. I think I can. Yeah, okay. It'd be kind of nice if I could just do that. But can't. But since we know the color anyways, we know it's like white. What was it? White at 30%? So I guess we'll just like RGB 255, 255. No, wait a minute. This is modern RGB syntax. how do I convert this to hex? What's 30% out of 256? And 2 hex, 4D. Okay, so I think we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that is right. Hard to tell. Let's just make this FF for a second. Yeah, so I'm guessing that's right. It doesn't look quite the same because the background color is different because of the gradient. But yeah, the VS Code extension does support V4 already. It kind of detects what version you're on. So anyways, the other thing we want to do is like a ring. So we're going to do ring. And I think that should give us just a black ring. And the ring is the thing that sits on the outside. So might not be able to tell, but you can see the black button is slightly smaller than this one because this is on the outside. So what did we say this shadow needed to be? It's this weird color, Tailwind color, not a color. Let's see. Is it close to a color? It's kind of like a desaturated red 500 almost. Whatever, let's just arbitrary value it. So then we're going to say ring over, we'll call it 15. Does that get us? I think that's kind of right. It does look really bad without being on the right background color though. I kind of just want to disable this shadow for a second. Yeah, so that's that black drop shadow. That's that ring. Yeah, okay, so maybe we'll try and get the gradient going now. So that's another thing that I think is going to be pretty custom how we have to do this. So this is the gradient panel. So we're just going to say BG gradient to BR. I don't think that's actually going to be right either, but we'll figure it out. Oh, you know what? We need to get some of this spacing sorted. And we got to get this wrapped properly. 448, 512. Okay, so we'll give this a max width of LG. All right, so that's wrapping a bit more sanely. This has got 24 pixels there and 48 pixels there. So we'll do an MT6 and an MT12 here. Okay, so that's close, except for we forgot about this giant section. So we said we were going to go to this line because we're going to build those other lines on the outside. So that's 168. Is that even a Tailwind value? $44? Nope. 40? It's like 42, which doesn't exist. So we'll just go with 40 for now. MT40. Okay. It doesn't look right. I guess that's actually within the margin of error given the slight rounding that we did for certain values. All right, that'll have to do. And now we can try and cook up this background gradient. So we've got this. It's going to have like a from color. I think Steve like hand picked all these colors too. So we're just going to do the same thing as that. So hex code via, and then 2. And that should be like something. It's not. Put it on the wrong element because we're stupid. And I can get rid of this background color. I must have copied that via color wrong. It's missing a character. The hex code for the inset shadow is not correct. Are we certain about that? Yeah, 255 at 30%. Isn't that what Steve had? He had 31%, but I think it's right. Okay, so anyways, we've got this. Now this isn't right because as you can see, the gradient's in the wrong spot. The other thing is like the way this gradient is done, it like starts at the top and goes down to the bottom right, but it starts in the center up here. I'm not sure if you can really do that with CSS, like if you can really express it that way. But maybe we can just like mess around here. So instead of saying to bottom right, ChatGPT, I did ask ChatGPT earlier, it's suggested like just playing with the it's kind of hard to tell. So the V is going to be at 57. Man, I'm not sure how to translate this to CSS. Let's kind of see, just out of curiosity, what does Figma do? Yeah, like it does some funky math here. Let's yeah, I'm not sure I understand like how to translate these values. So let's just stick that there for a second. I think arbitrary values work for gradients in V4. Gradient to top. Yeah, cool. So we could do like whatever, 125 degrees there. Okay. And then we can say from like 28% via 70%. I don't know. That's breaking everything. Oh, and it's still broken. I wonder which thing we screwed up here. Oh, shit. That would be cool if that worked. Let's just see. This is going to be horrible, but I'm just curious. What does that generate? It just sets the whole background image. Okay. Well, I mean, learning some things that I'd like to improve in Tailwind. Linear gradient. What did we say it was? Like 100 and something degrees? 125 degrees? And then we can say var TW gradient stops. I don't really like using this here because I consider this sort of like a private variable, like an implementation detail. But, you know, it does kind of work. So, but yeah, it would be cool to be able to do arbitrary gradients with Tailwind using just like BG gradient as a as the namespace for the utility as we would sort of discuss it internally. So one thing I'm not sure of is like how this gradient changes as you resize things. I mean, it seems actually pretty smooth. I think the this button still looks kind of weird though. I think it's because like the background isn't quite lining up exactly as it is in Figma. So why don't we actually just like see if we can just screw around with some things and get this to feel maybe a little bit closer. So I'm kind of thinking it's mostly related to the angle. Yeah, so where's like the knob? Can I just like drag this thing? All right, so I think we want it to be, so it was like over here, which I think is like too vertical. I think we kind of want it to be closer to like 145 maybe. That looks pretty close to my eye. Let's go with 145. Oh yeah, so Ali, you're trying to correct the shadow color. That it is correct the way I have it. So there's a an 8-digit hex code syntax in CSS where it's like, you know, RR, GG, BB, and then the alpha channel can be expressed as well. So this part's optional. So you can have like a 6-digit hex code, but you can also have an 8-digit hex code where the last 2 digits represent the alpha value. So that's what I'm doing here. So the 6 Fs are for white, and then the 4D is for the alpha channel. All right, so let's go and make that the 145, because I think that looked the closest. And that's the lowercase, all these hex codes. Okay, cool. So that's something. I'll have to get hover states and all that stuff from Steve too. But, you know, like that's pretty good. Oh, we missed a chevron up in the banner at the top. I guess that should be a link too, now that I think about it. So we won't make it a div anymore. We'll make it a link. And we don't need an href in the closing tag. And let's grab the chevron. I'm guessing this is a Heroicon's chevron, but maybe we should check what size it is. 16. So go over to Heroicon's micro chevron right. Grab the JSX for that. And stick that guy in there and delete that. And this probably has a gap of something, 4 pixels, so that's 1. So this will become a flex gap 1 item center deal. And yeah, so let's see now. Yeah, you know, like those are pretty close. The font thing is weird. We'll have to figure that out. It's like the kerning is really screwed up in the browser for some reason. but whatever. I don't know what that is, because it's like it's too tight for some characters, but then it's like too loose for other characters. So it's just like it's using a different copy of the font or something. Yeah, so we're going to have to figure that out at some point. Is this too small? Yeah, I think you're right, actually. That needs to be 2XL. I forgot that we have an 18 pixel font size. Good eye. Good eye, mate. That's how you speak Australian. Just say this out loud. All right. In Figma, the letter spacing is like, oh, is it all? It's all fucking manual. Steve, really? You did you actually do that? What? You sick fuck. Oh my god. All right. I don't even know how to do that in I mean, can we put a span in the middle of a word? I guess let's try, right? Let's learn. Tracking tighter. Okay, and then is this one adjusted too, or is it just, oh, that is adjusted. Oh my god. So where do I do this? Do I just do it on the R? Why would he do this? Why would he think that I could do this in code? And does this stack or does it undo? That seemed to work. This is so fucked up. And then we're going to go 3 on that one. So that one actually has to go wider. Steven, you fucking animal. All right. I'm really surprised to see to see that there's been per letter customizations. All right, I mean, like, I guess that's what we had to do. Now the question, I guess, is, does that mess up like screen readers? I don't know. Yeah, but it looks right now. That's crazy. All right. Helvetica, man. It's supposed to be a classic font. They didn't even think about these things? I don't know. All right. Okay, so I don't want to go forever here. Maybe I'll go for like another 25 minutes so we can pick something to hack on. I think I kind of want to try these fucking lines. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't even know where to start. Okay. Well, I definitely know we're going to need to make this relative, and that we're going to have a div here, and this div is going to be like this is where we're going to do everything, and this is going to be absolute positioned probably. So let's just give this like absolute BG, like red 400 over 25 or something, and set 0, and let's just see. Okay, so there's our box that we're working with. So we need to get this box to extend all the way to the edge. So I see 2 paths to this. One is we compensate for the the padding. So we could say like negative inset x, and it's really going to be like 24 plus 2. I'm going to do it with a calc, even though we don't really need to, but I find this sometimes is nice for sort of communicating intent. So if we say it's like spacing 24 plus spacing 2, and then we see that it didn't work at all. Let's try this. Okay, so now we've got a container that like flows perfectly, and like that 24 value, if I'm just looking at this, trying to understand this later, I can see, oh, that's the same as that 24, and that 2 is the same as that 2. So yeah, we've got that container now. I think we're going to want to put well, it's an outer border, I guess, right? That's not really a thing in CSS. There's 2 lines too, and one of them is higher than the other one. So let's think about how we would do that. We could just draw lines. Oh, it looks like we're missing a inner border on this thing too. See this? So that's like a stroke of black 4% inside. Let's add that quickly. So that's going to be a inset ring black 5%, whatever, we'll just round it up. Yeah, so now you can see we've got that like nice little inset ring that blends with the gradient. So you can see like it changes color. Subtle, but it's a nice detail. Okay, so we could do a top border on this and then like a nested element that yeah, okay, whatever. Let's just do this the crazy way. So first thing we're going to do is aria hidden true. There's not going to be any text in here, so it doesn't actually matter, but this is still a nice signal that this is like a totally visual element. I'm just going to put 2 divs in here. One is going to be the inner box, and one's going to be the outer box. So they're both going to be absolute. Inset x0, inset y, and this is where they're going to change. So one is going to be out by a pixel, and then that's, oh man, I don't even want to, I'm going to get this wrong with an off by 1 if I what's the distance between these 2 lines? Doesn't tell me. I guess I'm just going to have to draw a square here. 9 pixels? Oof. All right, let's just try it at least. And border y. Border. Let's just see. Do we even get anything? Okay, so we do get some lines that go all across the page now. Yeah, the links are all going to be fine because we're going to take this and we're going to make this relative. So if we can, why is, yeah, so that one's good, that one's good. I would have thought these would still be available. Absolute. Oh, this is in a separate container. Okay. Let's stick a relative on that too, no problem. Okay, so these are what? These are like black 5%. All right, so we got those. And now let's get rid of that background color because that's kind of distracting now that we actually have something there. And now we're going to do these plus signs. The Raycast extension is not publicly available, but we might release it. I don't know. Could be cool if it's useful to other people. Okay, the plus signs, these ones are going to have to be done relative to each individual item, I guess. Unless someone can think of like a cleverer way to do this, but I'm kind of thinking like basically this item needs to have like 2 plus signs absolute positioned relative to the inside of itself. And so does this one. So that like when the logo grows, this automatically moves. Holy fuck, this is going to be a fun exercise. And I also am trying to think like how we even want to do these plus signs. Let's think. So they're 15 by 15. Maybe they're just SVGs. Let's just try to get one of them in the right spot first, I guess. Okay, so oof. This is gonna like introduce a lot of complexity. That's okay. We're gonna wrap this in a div, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the vertical padding. No, I think I'll keep the padding there. But like this is gonna be like not necessarily centered anymore. But whatever. Let's just see. And can I copy this as an SVG? Is that actually going to be useful? Actually, you know what's weird? If you look at this. Okay, so it's just an SVG with a black 10% and it blends with the thing underneath. Okay. So that class name size 15 pixels. I don't really like mixing pixel units and rem units and things, but I think that's probably going to be okay. And let's just look and see. So there, that does show up. Why is this complaining? Come on. React. You know that SVGs exist. Okay, do we need the fill rule? No. Do we need the clip rule? No. Fill black 10. We probably don't need this fill none then. Okay. So there's our guy. And this is going to be absolute. And it needs a negative top of 12 plus 8, 20 pixels, I think. Oh God, I'm smart. And then a negative left of 8 pixels, I think. I can never decide if I prefer putting like the negative value in the arbitrary value or at the beginning. I thought I liked putting it here, but to be honest, this feels like natural in this situation. So I don't know. We can probably extract these into like a little component or something too. So this will be a negative bottom of the same thing. And now we can probably do the same thing for this link. Not quite, eh? So this is why I was thinking about moving the padding, because I'm guessing this div is shorter than the div that the other element is in. So that's 36 and that's 28. Okay, let's refactor. Where should that padding come from? Okay, yeah, I'm just going to move this padding to these elements. And then we don't want to center these anymore. We just want this to stretch. Same with this, unfortunately. So now those are in the same place. So now we only have to offset them by the size of the icon. Okay, so now that'll work the same for all of them, but now these aren't centered, right? So that means we gotta like flex drill all this stuff basically. So flex item center. And then I think I can probably copy maybe this one. And we'll use that as sort of the basis for all these links now. Oh. Cut, paste, pricing and login, duplicate. Thank God for prettier. I just don't even care about this formatting. Okay, cross your fingers. Okay, so those are probably not quite in the right spot, but it's going to inform like some padding decisions. Like even this is not in the right spot actually, is it? All right, we'll get there. This one also needs like a trailing one. So let's just duplicate this shit. And this is going to be right this time. All right, so looking here now. So this plus stuff is supposed to go like on this item. So I guess, yeah, let's build that one a little differently. It kind of sucks that this is all just like manual. But when you have a really particular design, kind of how it's got to be, I guess. So we'll put those ones there, and then we'll delete the plus signs that are around the little banner announcement thing. So that's in the right spot now. Now these ones are just not. So are these equally spaced? No. That's 83. That's 70. But now we can sort of tell that there's like, that's why we had this gap here. So that's 16. So each one of these has like a 16 pixel horizontal padding. And I don't think it should be on the link. I think it should be on the wrapper. Because it really depends on what the hover styles are for the link. So let's just multi-cursor this for a second. So that's going to be PX4, I think. And then I guess we don't need any gap on this either. Okay. So that's where we got so far. I think that's probably a pretty decent place to stop. But yeah, the nice thing is the positioning of all these plus signs is like dynamic, right? And based on the content. Obviously, we haven't done like the responsive stuff yet. But, you know, if the word features, whatever, gets way longer, features about my stupid app, you know, everything's just going to like adjust and move to the right place. And before we actually release this template, I'm definitely going to want to clean up a lot of this stuff. We'll probably like componentize more of this and think about like an abstraction where maybe there's like a component that I can pass this content into that automatically adds this stuff. But yeah, like generally this is, you know, it's pretty close. So I think that's pretty good start. The grid line stuff is pretty hairy, but I think if we can try and separate the concerns of like the grid line and the plus signs with like another component that the contents are sort of layered into, that it could actually feel pretty clean. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up here so I can get back to business here and check in with the team and talk to Steve and ask him about this tracking stuff. But this was pretty fun. I'm glad that we made this progress that we did. I think it was fun kind of moving it over to Tailwind 4, figuring out this gradient stuff, playing around with these fancy grid lines. Lots of work to do still. Maybe I'll do like a stream per day or something, and I'll just hack on a different thing every day because it's kind of fun. Like I'm looking forward to building this keyboard. I'm going to try and build this with actual HTML and stuff. And I kind of want to do it in a way where there's maybe like an API where you can pass in like which keys should be highlighted and stuff. So if you're building a template and you want to show off a different shortcut or something, you could do that. I'm wondering if there's any other cool stuff here. Like this stuff will be kind of fun to build, and like doing these animations and stuff like that. Yeah, here's like that same like plus sign pattern sort of repeated. So I think it'd be kind of fun to figure out how to abstract that a little bit. Yeah, maybe I'll do another one of these tomorrow. Maybe I'll like stream for an hour and a half or so every afternoon and just like pick a new thing to kind of work on and have some fun with it. Cool. All right, thanks for joining, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow again with any luck. Hopefully you learned something, and hope it was a little bit fun. I don't know. It's kind of fun for me. Cool to get back into the swing of it. Anyways, see you at the next one.